As you know, we search the world for things for you, and we love the color burst, but we also love the idea of adding some extra shine to it. And that's what we found from Creative Expressions over in England, and we brought them to you.
It's called Pixie Powder, and these are highly pigmented powders, plus they've got mica powders in there, and that really gives that nice iridescence, and add water and poof, they're beautiful.
In fact, we're about to show you. Come play with us. Well, here they are, and this is something that you can't judge a book by its cover. Well,
that's right.
Can't judge the end result by the bottle, but this is what they look like.
And there are 6 different colors here. We have rich gold, purple violet, silver dream, peacock green, midnight blue, and lava red.
And just to reinforce, this is under the Cosmic Shimmer brand, and these are the folks that also brought us the iridescent watercolors, which we all love and just love the look. So now we get it in powder form.
Each one of these are 30 milliliter bottles, so there's quite a bit in there, and it's got this nice little nozzle tip that we usually like to tap out or kind of poof a little bit, and a little bit of the powder will come out.
Well, let's show you some
They
goodies.
go a long way too, that 30 milliliter. You don't need much.
That's actually good to know. So you can see that like others, like the Color Burst, you're going to get this wonderful watercolor look. But look at that iridescent quality that you get. Isn't that gorgeous?
I like that you're getting, on this one in particular, you're getting some of it is still a little bit in the powder form when it got hit with the water. Some of it just absorbs into the paper. So you're getting a sort of a mixed media effect.
Right. And we did put, just if you're wondering what's on top, these are the Zen Butterfly Dazzles. And so you've got the border, you've got the big butterflies as well as the words. It all works nicely. And on the inside, you've got more. So let's see how to do this.
Okay.
Make your magic, lady.
How to do this is really simple. So the bottles I have, first of all, look a little bit different because the first ones we got were these flat bottles. The ones you would get are these nice round shape, but they're still 30 milliliters.
Right.
And still has that same tip on there. I'm going to start with dry paper. So a couple of different ways, just like Color Burst. You can start with wet paper, you can start with dry paper. You're always going to get
a
little
cardstock?
bit. This is cardstock. Okay. You're always going to get a little bit of a different look. Just get a little bit of that on there. I don't know how much Susan used in this card, so we're just going to see because there's always something a little different.
So that was
first the
midnight
blue, and now I've got the peacock green. I'm just going to add a little bit, and then see what happens when we start spritzing with water. And it really starts to take shape. She said that she put quite a few spritzes so that they would actually puddle a little bit, and then she lifted her cardstock and let it pool a little bit. I don't think I have enough water on it there for it
to let it drift,
do that.
huh?
Right. So I'm going to add quite a bit more. Really want it to puddle up. But it really does. I love that it changes, that you can move it around once that's on there and really get sort of, I love that on the, you can take another piece and just blot it on there and get a neat look too.
Don't let anything go to waste.
Depending on how much water you put on here, that could pool up a little bit and let it move around, which is what Susan did. Mine doesn't seem to want to pool up quite as much. But
so here's, and that's actually one of the fun things, and you kind of have to get your head around it, that every piece that you do is going to be different. Right. So it's fun to see that. And I do love the idea of taking the extra bits and using them that was so effectively done here. We did add some silver jewel dazzles in the center of our butterflies and along the outer edge of the wings. And this just creates a wonderful backdrop for any of the dazzles, probably.
I would like to bring this back in as it's drying, to just real briefly. So when I turn this, so you can see those colors, but when I turn it, can you see that shimmer? Yeah. So there it is. So the areas that where a little bit more of the powder is formed, you can get more of the iridescence. Just gorgeous.
Really is pretty. Now, scrapbookers, this is also for you, so I never want you to feel left out. Now, this scrapbook page, as you can see, well, there's lots of things going on in it. First of all, let's go up here where we're going to see these big snowflakes. Now those were done with a cutting die, and we happen to have one for you. Actually, we have several. This has got 3 snowflakes, so a large, a medium, and a small. Here's the large one that was done on the Pixie powders.
Right, on the cardstock. So go ahead and treat your cardstock, add as much of that as you like, spritz it with water, let it dry, and then use a cutting die to cut it into those great shapes.
You can see
beautiful.
There's another one down there.
You can see it in the background too, that a few of the different colors were mixed and matched. So you can check the gallery to see which ones Lene used, but just spritz them on, or poof them on and spritz with a little water.
Now she also used the silver snowflakes. These are the foiled fancies, and she used the shimmer or the shine. Let's see, shimmer and shine.
Shimmer and shine.
Papers. In fact, we did this at Girlfriend's Getaway this year. So if you've got the kit, you've got all of this.
Those are adhesive back, and they're easy. You can stick them on something, or you can just use them to back.
Yeah, they were little 1/4-inch strips were placed behind here to give you some shine and some dazzles on top.
But if you look at those foiled fancies, they're also a little bit different. They're not just straight silver.
Wait a minute, they've got speckles on them.
They do.
Ooh,
they've got speckles and sparkles. So before you'd back those with the shimmer and shine papers, I've got one here. I've got a craft sheet. Are you showing?
I'm just showing them. Yeah. Okay.
So here it is, and this one is already sort of poofed out a little bit. So what Lene said that she did was first to spritz it with a little water.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna like tap it because it's sort of all over the bottle here. Just tap a little bit of that on, and that should just take up with the water. If you find that it's not getting activated by the water, just spritz it a little bit more. And you've got a little bit of purple on there. Very pretty. And then you would just let that dry, and you'll have nice little speckled snowflakes.
I would not have thought of that. I just would have thought it would have wiped off and it wouldn't have worked, and it does. So that's great. Look at this. Now this is where you're really getting some differences. So we've done dazzles, we've done the foiled fancies, and now we're doing a stencil. It's a little tricky to do, so we're going to walk you through the steps, but isn't that beautiful?
And this is done with the Viney Wreath stencil.
Right.
Now this is using the Pixie powders dry through the stencil, so this is a different way to use it.
Right.
But there is a process you're going to want to use to be successful with this. Number one, when you tape down your stencil, you want to make sure that it's really taped down well. So I've got it around the edges and even around these openings of those areas that I'm covering to help hold it down flat. And on that bow in the center, I'm pressing that down. I really want it to hold down flat. And I even went so far as to use a little bit of the repositional easy dots underneath just a few of the areas, because I really want it to sit flat on the cardstock. And that's because I don't want the Pixie powder to go underneath the stencil. So I'm just going to tap on, and Susan used the gold and the lava red for this. I'm going to start by tapping on just a little bit of the Pixie powder. And you do want to make a pretty good coverage. Let's see if we can get this. Come on out, Pixie powder.
Come on, guys.
A little bit here. I'm just going to work on one little area. And then I'm going to use a flat, Susan used a 1/2 inch flat brush. So that way when you go up and down, because you're not going to go back and forth, you're only going to go up and down to move this around.
Pouncing only.
Pouncing up and down only, and that, as you can see, moves it around. And I'm just going to get it on some of the opening. I think I'm even going to hold it down a little bit with my fingers to make sure that stencil isn't moving. But you want enough of the Pixie powder on there that it really covers up the black cardstock.
Especially on that black cardstock,
really
which
want that
is what
makes coverage.
That wonderful contrast, doesn't it?
Which I think I need just a little bit more Pixie powder.
What's nice, and I think you said this earlier, is how
a little more
how far they go.
Right.
In distance, if you squeeze them, and even as you use them.
So I'm just pouncing up and down. And the reason I don't want to use too much at once, which I hope I didn't use too much at once, is because it will sit on top of the stencil, and then when I pull the stencil away, it might fall back onto the design. So I'm just trying to get it onto the black. I'm just going to do a small area here so we can see. But you can go ahead and continue around and get that all over your piece. And then you're going to spritz it with water. Just a little bit of water to set it. Susan said she held this up about 5 inches, and she said she used like 6 for the whole thing, so I'm just going to spritz it twice. And then we're going to remove the tape and see how we did. So around the edges.
So she used the gold for the wreath and then the red for the bow, and then we'll show you a thing on the little berries too.
As well, right.
Yeah.
So you can do the bow separately.
And you would,
and the nice thing about this is afterwards she cut around the outside edges of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm being careful because I don't want all of that pixie powder from the top of the stencil to pull up. So now I've got some of those repositional dots on there. I'm going to pull up, so there we go. Okay, so what you get is you're going to get a little bit of haziness in between, and Susan said that she went ahead and let this dry as she tapped it off, and if you want to, you can use a smaller paintbrush to go into some of those smaller areas and get it out of those areas. Let me see if I tap it off, it will make much of it, but you can see it's a pretty good design.
Yeah.
So,
and just to show you the finish where that cutting was, just outside the edge of it. Now for the red bow, that was done exactly the same way on the black, and it was also cut out. The berries, you were saying that she did a piece of red.
She did a piece of red and then punched it out with an 1/8 inch punch. That's one way of doing it.
Or you could use red stickles, so you've got lots of options. And we do have our 3-pack of Christmas greetings. We're using the black, you can see right there. And then on the inside, we've got one of the little sprigs, so that's a nice way to go.
That's a nice touch. Plus we have the black thin lines dazzles on there with the Christmas Wonder papers.
It's getting closer so you can see those, because it kind of does a border along the edge. So you can see there, over there, and right along the edge of that
And I like
stripe.
how she let it go. The wreath goes off the edge. It's such a large wreath, and it's okay to do that. It's just a gorgeous look. It's like too big for the card.
It is.
It's so beautiful.
So we've done a couple of different things. Now we're going to go to stamping.
Stamping and embossing.
And this is the brand new Layering Flowers stamp, which has that 3-step process. When you're stamping it, you do the light color, the medium color, and the dark color to get a 3-dimensional flower.
In most cases.
However, here,
or you can
what's going on?
Mix it up a little bit and do it a little different, because I wanted to use the Pixie Powder. So what you're seeing in there, if you really, can we turn this just a little bit more? Can you see the shimmer in there of the blue? So what we're doing is mixing embossing powders and pixie powders together.
Really?
Right. So I've got, what I have here is the clear gloss superfine, the embossing powder. I have white embossing powder, and I have black embossing powder. I took about a 1/2 teaspoon of each one of these things. Actually, not the white. I took a 1/2 teaspoon of the black, 1/2 teaspoon of the clear. I placed them in some little container, and then I added a few poofs of the peacock pixie powder.
To each one?
To each one of these. So this is actually clear, and you can see that shimmer down there from where it's mixed around, but you can really see the shimmer.
Right.
The clear mixed with a few poofs of the green, and this is black mixed with a few poofs of the green. And then you start with your layering. And I did start with that large base on that flower, and I'm going to use the Versamark. So first I'm going to stamp my large base with the Versamark, like so, and then I'm going to use this
the lightest color.
The lightest color. I did use the lightest color, but then I used the darkest color on the center.
Okay.
And then I used white as the last layer, just pure white. And this is what I got.
It's kind of like cooking. You're giving us a recipe.
Right. Tap that off. So that's your first layer. You go ahead and heat set that. When that's done, you stamp the second layer in your stamp. So this layer to this layer, and when I stamp that one, then I'm going to go ahead and heat set that. Then I'm going to add this one as the second layer, and then I'm going to use pure white as the last layer. And once you do,
you don't want to heat it?
No, and once you do, it's going to look like that. So it's just a matter of stamping those layers.
Okay, so that light color
setting
at the bottom, the dark color is the middle.
Right.
And what would normally be our darkest color is the
white.
highlights.
Right, the highlights, that last piece on top was just with the white, but you can see through to some of the other colors.
Okay.
And I actually sort of mixed it up and did it backwards for some of the leaves. So you can play with it. So some of the leaves.
So you gave us a recipe and then you changed it.
It's all right. You can mix it up, see what it looks like, go back and forth. But I just love it because then you've got that shimmer in there. Those mica powders really work.
That's beautiful.
In the background, you're seeing the leaves just stamped with a fluid chalk ink.
Okay.
And then I did the same with the smile, and then I embossed on top of it.
And there's our velvet glitter ribbon. And then on the inside, beautiful.
So they can be
stunning.
mixed. I like that they can be mixed with the embossing powders. You can really get some fun effects with that.
I would never have thought of that.
Even if you're not layering, you just mix them with embossing powder and emboss with it, and you've got a shimmery embossing powder.
So after you heat set, then you're going to do the Versamark again and do the next. So just every
Each
single
layer.
layer. Absolutely beautiful. So like we said when we began, you really don't see the wonderful effect you're going to get when you look at the bottles, but they have magic and pixie powders inside.
Little pixie powder magic, I like that.